what the sister was saying, and speaking about the story of Suleiman alayhi salam and the Queen of Sheba or Bilqis, right? If you read the story, and it says that the whoop whoop, or the bird that was absent, and it says that Suleiman alayhi salam was going to give him a punishment that he never had before, because Suleiman alayhi salam had control over the birds. He was like the beast master. Y'all see, that's an old movie. He had control of the birds. He could talk to the birds. He had control over the wind, and he had control of the jinn. So anyways, one of the days that one of the birds that he had was missing out of attendance, and then the bird came back and he asked him, "Where were you?" And he said, "I went to a land where there was a queen or an empress who had a kingdom like no other kingdom." Right? She was wrong. Her kingdom was, she was an empress. She wasn't just a queen, she was an empress. Okay? And those who don't know, the Queen of Sheba, her empire was Mali, Sudan, Ethiopia, right? And even southern parts of Yemen, the southern part of Saudi Arabia, right? Habasha, right? Where Bilal radiallahu anh came from. He came from this empire, this Habasha empire. She was the queen, the empress of this whole region. Somalia, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Yemen. All of this right there. The eastern part of Africa. So, in this story, real briefly, Suleiman alayhi salam, he sent her a letter. And we're told that this letter began with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Right? Some even try to say that, well, Surah At-Tawbah, it doesn't have Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, but because Allah used it over here in this story, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, when he wrote the letter to Queen of Sheba, that it makes up for that. Allahu Alam. But he did write on the letter, Suleiman alayhi salam, the same way that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he sent his letters to the emissaries of the kings or whatnot, he would begin with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So we're told in the ayah, in the Quran, that he wrote the letter Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And he told the Queen of Sheba to submit to the one God. Submit. So she was told, she was warned, right? Submit to the one God, the God of Abraham and so forth, so on, the God of Isaac and so forth, so on. Now, her advisors, because now these were African people. Let's understand. These were African people. And her advisors were like, man, well, shoot, we could fight too. We can get down too. You know, we know how to do war and this and that. Man, let's get down with them. Now, but remember, Suleiman, who his daddy was. His daddy was Dawood alayhi salam, and through Dawood alayhi salam, that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had revealed or sent down metal or iron. He was the first person to use the sword. So Suleiman alayhi salam, he said that he had the best kingdom. He had the most wealth, the most gold, what nothing like his kingdom. Okay? So she said, well, let me send him a gift. Let me send him a gift. Right? Because she said, I don't know about fighting him, because we know that in a time of war, you know, the women is captives. You know, I'm going to have to be his concubine or something. I don't know about that. Y'all telling me let's go fight, but I'm the one that's going to have to marry him or be his concubine, because this is the way of war. So she said, let me send him a gift, right? So she sent him a gift, and Suleiman looked at it in disgust, like, man, I got everything, man. Allah give me everything, man. I don't need this, man. Man, he send this back, man. This is nothing, you know. Get ready for war. So we're told in the Hadith, we're told in the Quran that it said that she got scared. So her and her emissaries, they traveled to go meet Suleiman. Now before she came, it said that he built a palace made out of glass. Now understand this. This is before Moses. This is way back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about, you know, medieval times, even before medieval. And now we got a prophet who made a castle made out of glass. Put glass over the pond, over the water. You know what I'm saying? It said the glass was so clean. You know, like the commercial, the bird, bam, he fly right into into the window because it's so clean, right? That he built a castle made out of glass. We can't even fathom. They can't even do that today. You know, a castle, a whole castle made out of glass. So he also had told his jinns, because he had control over the jinns, which one of y'all can go get this, her throne? You know, they said, oh, I can do it, I can do this and that. Then another one who had, he said he had knowledge of the scripture. Before he blinked his eye, went up, he had went and grabbed her throne. Okay? So he snatched it. So when Bilqis, or should we say the Queen of Sheba, when she came to the kingdom of Suleiman, as the sister was saying, they came across this water leading to the castle. Now the glass was so clean that she thought she was going to step into the water, and she raised up her dress because she didn't want to get wet, right? But to her amazement, it was glass. So she was like, wow. She was very amazed, and she said to herself, man, this can only be in her understanding, right? Because she had an empire, right? But she ain't never seen nothing like the likes that she seen with Suleiman alayhi salam. And before she came, he called her to Islam. Right. He gave her signs, right? The first sign was the water, right? The other sign was the throne, right? Because again, she understood, she already had some, like I said, she already had some understanding. Then when she seen these things, she knew that this only could be from Allah. Right. And again, like the sister said, she was from a people, again, that's at the beginning of the story, it says she was from a people that worshiped the sun. Okay? And like the sister said, it was her environment, or it may have been the way of her fathers or whatnot. This is what they followed. And then Allah, he warns us sometimes, said, what, will you follow that which your fathers followed and they were heedless, or they are those who are not, or misguided? So again, giving us another example of pleasing Allah instead of the people. Now when she was removed from her environment, and she got over there with Suleiman, and she seen all these miracles and her throne, and like, man, how did you get my throne? And I submit. I have to submit with my intellect and my understanding and seeing these signs, because Allah says, I give you signs and symbols for those who reflect and understand. So being that she was an empress, surely she wasn't dumb. She wasn't dumb by far. In order to be an empress, a woman who was in control of a whole empire with men and everything, Somalia, Sudan, Ethiopia, Yemen, she was very wise. Right? So when she understood and she seen these things, she couldn't do nothing but bow down. They say that Islam is a religion of an intellect. Right? You got scientists, you know, they say Jacques Cousteau became Muslim. You got a lot of scientists that become Muslim. A lot of doctors become Muslim because they read the Quran. It's nothing but science. Okay? So like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, or those who reflect, or those who have aql, or ulul albab, or those who have been blessed with understanding. This is a guidance and a reminder for those who have been blessed with understanding. If you are a person that uses your intellect, if you're an intelligent person, you read the Quran or you see certain things, it talks about the womb, it talks about, you know, the fetus, it talks about the mountains, and then mountains are used as pegs, right? It talks about these things that we can't even, Jacques Cousteau, who was those who are old enough, we used to watch Jacques Cousteau when he used to ride in the ocean and with all this other stuff. There's an ayat in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, do you not see that we have the salt water and the fresh water? And in between these two is an invisible barrier where one does not cross into the other. Jacques Cousteau read this ayat in the Quran, and he went and found this in the ocean. He said, man, only the person who created this could have known this. And he took shahada. Based on this intellect and this understanding, man, this is for the people that have intellect and understanding. Man, scientists, astronauts. Y'all heard about, what's the brother's name? One of the guys that went to the moon, Neil Armstrong. Okay? Neil Armstrong was an astronaut. I don't know if y'all heard this story, but Neil Armstrong, one of the people who supposedly went to the moon, that when he was traveling through Egypt, he heard the adhan. And he heard the adhan and he listened attentively. He said, hey man, this is the same thing that I heard when I went to the moon. I heard this call. I heard this, this singing when I was on the moon. Right? And he said that he took shahada. But they tried to make it like he was crazy though. Or he done went crazy, so they try to discredit him. But anybody that comes with any type of knowledge or anyone that can have some type of power of influence and let the people know the truth, man, they call him crazy. Okay? So again, another person of intellect, another person of knowledge, right? So yes, when Allah blesses you with understanding and the Quran and the truth of the Quran, it comes to you, you can't do nothing but submit to it if you really want to be of those who believe.